So I hang out on the internet. My point is just to create conversations, talk to you guys about what I see in the motorcycle market, trends, pricing, just bikes I like. Any conversation about motorcycles, I'll take it on because I just like all motorcycles. But I'm also a big fan of Harley Davidson. That is my preferred brand, despite liking every brand out there and something that every brand offers, except maybe CF Moto. No hate, you just haven't earned my trust yet. That's all there is to it. But in this, I spend time on the internet because I watch videos and I want to know what people are talking about in the motorcycle space. What's the conversation? What should I be talking about? What stereotypes should I be debating? What conversation should I be leading? Where does this all go, right? And every once in a while, I find a channel like Two Wheel Truth that uses deception to paint Harley Davidson in a negative light and prop up metric Japanese cruisers. Or not cruisers, but the sport bikes, Japanese manufacturers in general. And I like a lot that the Japanese bikes do. But to say, look at this, they've done so well, everything is great and perfect over here on this side of the house, and Harley Davidson screwed it up, and I'm going to give you the numbers to prove it. But then flip numbers, kind of change position, use one example and rug pull on another. That's what I'm going to call out. So I want to take you in to two clips from this video from Two Wheel Truth where he's deceptive. He's just lying to you. Let's get into it.
Something that might surprise you. Japanese manufacturers have actually
Listen
held
to
the
these
line
numbers.
remarkably well on pricing when you adjust for inflation. A 1970 Honda CB750,
1970
the bike that basically
Honda
invented the modern
750.
four-cylinder motorcycle, cost $1,495 brand new.
Not a bad price. I wish I could still get it
Adjusted
for that.
inflation, that is about $12,200 in today's dollars.
$12,200.
2025
1970
Honda CB750
1.5
Hornet starts at
$12,200.
$7,999 with ABS, traction control, and Bluetooth connectivity.
Look at all these extra features.
35% cheaper in real terms than the original.
Great deal. Great deal. And I agree. Way to stick to it, keep pricing low, and not gouge, right? I accept that. I agree with it. But let's see how he frames that same situation for Harley Davidson to lie to you and tell you what your eyes can't see.
Premium American motorcycles have moved significantly upmarket over the past 2 decades.
Harley went the other way.
1986 Sportster
1986. 1986 AA3. Huh. That's different than 1970, but we'll get into that.
83 costs $3,995, which is about $11,100 adjusted for inflation. Today's Sportster S starts at $16,999.
Sportster
That is
S.
roughly 53.
883 RevMax 1250 Sportster S.
That is roughly 53% more.
53% more expensive. Now, we saw the changes. Numbers were different. And I'm going to tell you why. He went with 1970 instead of he went with 1986 instead of 1970. Well, in 1986, the Honda Nighthawk 700S was $3,000 something dollars. Where's my actual number? I have it here. $3,398. Which is pretty close to that number he gave on the A83, right? But in 1970, a Sportster was $1,800. So, if a Sportster, and you couldn't get the AA3, you could only get the 1200 in 1970, was $1,800. 1.5 was $12,200. Well, when they discontinued the Sportster 1200 in 2022, it was 12,300 and was 11,000 something. So what's the modern 2025 equivalent of a Sportster 883 that Harley Davidson makes? I wonder if it's the Nightster 987, which clocks in at 9,999, 10K, which is under that 11,000. So it's not a 53% markup, is it? The Japanese bikes did better. I will give them credit on that. They did a little better on preserving price, but Harley did not blow out of the water inflation by 83%, ripping you off the customer because you just have to deal with it. That's not what happened. That modern RevMax 1250 Sportster is really nothing like a Sportster 1200. It really isn't. It is just tuned different. It is designed different. It is set up different. It's closer to a V-Rod, if I'm going to be honest. It's like this muscle cafe, like light muscle cruiser type deal. It's just not an equivalent of the Sportster. That Nightster though, that Nightster special, pretty close to an 883. It's still more power. It still has ABS. It still has brake displacement and ride modes. So like you're still getting a lot more at lower than inflation prices, but we're going to use 1986 for Harley Davidson. We're going to use 1970 for Honda. And when it all washes out, it looks a lot better for Honda than Harley Davidson. We're going to use an 883 for Harley Davidson, but tell you to compare it to a 1250 RevMax Sportster. But we're going to do a Honda 750 versus a Honda 750. Dead on, right? It's that little tweaking, that little deception, that constant dig. And I know why it happens, right? Because everyone punches up. You got to go after Harley. Harley's easy to hate because they've controlled such a large portion of the US market for decades. Decades and decades. Harley just ruled the roost. And that's not necessarily the case anymore. And Harley's starting to look around and notice that all these manufacturers are outselling us because they provide options in every category in the motorcycle market. And maybe our mentality has to shift. And it is. If you're really paying attention, Harley Davidson is shifting their mentality. They are addressing known issues with their motorcycles. They are listening to people. They are testing new designs. They are looking for ways to get into the sub 10,000, around $6,000 market. They are looking for the answers and they are working on it. They're not fast. They're not great at it, but what they do well, the big cruisers, they do well. And if you don't think so, you're not paying attention. But the lies keep persisting. Harley leaks oil. I've owned 3 Harleys in my life. A V-Rod, a Sportster, and a Road Glide. Never had a leak. Not one drop of oil outside of my bike. I haven't had any issues with my Harleys at all, except for the ones that I caused by laying the damn thing down because I was being stupid on my motorcycle. Like, it's just what it is, and they keep lying, and they use tricks like this. Look at this hand, not this hand. Don't pay attention to when I switch and flip it around, because if you look too closely at the trick, you might not believe it. And if you don't believe it, you won't repeat the lie. You won't buy into it. You won't spread the good word of hating Harley. But you don't have to do that. Just be honest with the audience. How about let's try that? Let's build stuff on the truth and use that as the starting point. Because all these motorcycles, if you look around, it is such a great market. There is something out there for you, no matter what you want to get on and no matter how you want to ride. If you want to carve canyons, that Indian Scout is so nice. But you could do it on a Super Duke or a Ducati Motard or a Harley Davidson Road Glide. What's your ride? What's your style? What's your speed expectations? Are you going to do track days or are you just going to stick to the back roads? Are you going to crush a lot of highway miles or is it your daily commuter? Like, you can answer these questions and look at the market and make decisions for yourself. You don't have to lie about everything else on the market and why it's switching. If you want to know why young riders aren't as prevalent as they are, there's a lot of reasons. That's not going to stay that way forever, and it's not necessarily as bad as people like to make it out. Because on my TikTok and on my YouTube, they pop up and I talk about them. They're out there hooligan, doing chopper builds, crushing it on Harleys and Indians and all the sport bike riders. It's out there. It is. Maybe it's not as popular as it once was. The economy's kind of rough and it's kind of crushing down on the overall motorcycle market. But things come and go. It's an ebb and flow. And the young riders, when they feel they have the disposable income, more and more will join. And some of them will work their way up through corporate ladders or structures or job positionings to the point where they feel comfortable with it. It just takes time, and it happens when it happens. I don't think the motorcycle market's going to die. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there. The motorcycle market as a whole is not doing great. Harley Davidson is doing just about as good as the overall market, which isn't great, right? But these companies are still making money. They're still invested, and they still want to move forward. So encourage that. Don't lie about all the other brands. Don't sling trash back and forth. Embrace all motorcyclists. Learn to appreciate bikes that are outside your style and category. And if you want to talk about some facts, let's talk about some facts. Let's talk about the real numbers and where the market sits and how much power and production these companies are doing. How closely priced are these individual companies to their true competitive markets? Because you can't really sit there and say, well, the sport bike market has done better for inflation than the cruiser market, because the cruiser market has always been a little bit more expensive than the sport bike market. So that little bit, if it's like a 2 to 3% difference in 1970, that's going to inflation out, right? It's going to stretch and it's going to feel like it's a bigger difference, but it's not. So I don't know. Keep lying to impress whoever you want to impress. Dig on Harley so that you get the quick and easy likes. Me personally, I'd rather just have good, honest conversations and build an audience that loves all motorcycles and is willing to talk about the truth and where the market sits, not built on a castle of lies. I don't know. Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for hanging out. Like, subscribe. I'll try to do a little bit more long form content. I do have a Harley Davidson demo day coming up, so expect those. And I plan on doing a series where I just go around, talk about the bikes, the specs, and the price, and start comparing out all bikes, sport bikes, metric cruisers, Harleys, Indians, whatever I can see on a showroom, I'm willing to talk about. So we'll get into that series too, and we'll just start talking about all the different markets, where they're sitting and what kind of numbers we're looking at. Hope to see you around. Bye.